So this might, as Roland was, it touched on something there. Now I can't recall on the SunFiber. We had 2 SunFiber questions that had come in, so maybe a good time just to segue over there in the world of prebiotics. The question Susan had on here was the difference between our SunFiber, which is all SunFiber, and then the TruFiber, which actually has the enzymes of like when you would recommend one versus the other. And then the other question, this would be applied to both, was is there added sugar? I'm guessing that somebody who looked at the label where sugars are on there, and that's part of the start, there's no added sugars, that's the starch, fiber content that's registering some of that. So to those 2 points, the difference with TruFiber, SunFiber, the no added sugar, and then just anything else you guys would feel important to call out on the prebiotic. It's one of our best sellers in the SunFiber. It's absolutely just like skyrocketing and continues to.
Well, one of the first groups of conferences we would go to were the pediatric special needs. Originally it was called DAN, Defeat Autism Now, and then that changed over into MedMaps, pediatric special needs. And one of the issues with a lot of these young people is they don't get enough fiber. And if they do get fiber, they don't have the enzymes to break it down. Humans don't make enzymes to break down fiber. They make enzymes to break down sugars, which are technically, fibers are technically sugars, but most of your fibers need specific enzymes that are coming from your microbiome. And because so many of these young people had their food was overcooked and destroyed all the enzymes, we just started to add some enzymes in there just to help it out. Didn't have any flavor to anything else. It's still 98% SunFiber, and there's just a few enzymes in there to break things down. But SunFiber is partially hydrogenated guar gum. That's it's
hydrolyzed
yeah. Hydrolyzed guar gum. It's a giant molecule, and what they do is they just treat guar gum with an enzyme and break it down into a much smaller part. So you may go from 2 million Daltons down to 20,000 Daltons as a molecular weight. Now it's digestible, it's soluble, and it can be worked. And a lot of studies show that if in healthy adults, I think it was particularly males, they were taking fiber every day for 2 weeks, their bifidobacteria counts doubled and their butyrate levels went up. And being the kind of questioners that we are, we decided to go into the lab, and we had Sonia, take the MRS broth, which is what you grow your bacteria in, and you took the sugar out and you put in SunFiber, but nothing would grow. So the SunFiber, the partially hydrolyzed guar gum, does not feed bifidobacteria directly. Some other enzyme or some other organism producing an enzyme has to do something to it to break it down. Then what happens is, your bifidobacteria will go up. But bifidobacteria don't make butyrate. They make lactate. And lactate has to be converted to butyrate by some Clostridia, Roseburia, Eubacteria, and others, but only at the proper pH. And then you'll get butyrate. So if the pH is down around 5.2 in the colon, there's almost no conversion of lactate to butyrate. And the higher up you go until you hit about 6, you're going to get propionate or some acetate or maybe some formate. But it's not until you get a little above 6 that the majority of the lactate is converted to butyrate. So, all of these things have to happen. You have to have this environment down there. And it's pretty incredible. But
you have a graphic on that where you show in the longer PowerPoint where it shows just how one thing feeds to another, and
it's an interdependent system.
That one?
That's the one.
Yeah, you almost perfect.
Yeah, and and butyrate's going to there's a lot of talk now about Akkermansia, which is a marvelous organism, but it lives in the mucus layer in the colon. And butyrate has a significant impact on that, which is going to have an impact then on the amount of Akkermansia that's produced, naturally.
Well, what Akkermansia does is it actually works to maintain the mucosal layer, because in the colon there's a bilipid layer, there's an inner and an outer. And that lipid layer is the last physical barrier of defense between organisms getting direct contact with the epithelial lining vis-a-vis the immune cells also, which causes a negative response. It's like two neighbors without a fence between each other, and they don't like each other. And this is what people have to understand. This ecosystem requires the right inputs of the variables at their appropriate places for this idealistic world to come true. And the vast majority of people who are taking supplemental fibers have no idea to the degree of size that fiber molecule is the fiber molecule appropriate for the current state of their microbiome. And to the original question, when do you use one or the other? I kind of feel that for the vast majority of people, it's almost interchangeable. You're getting 97% SunFiber versus 100% pure SunFiber. So the quantity is not all that different. Maybe in people who have a little bit of a degradation to the integrity of their microbiome and the rebuilding their bifido strains, maybe the TruFiber is a better decision because it has the ability to enzymatically break down some of that fiber, whereas straight SunFiber does not. And for people who are dealing with chronic, small or large intestine inflammation, SunSpectrum is a great product to bring in the conversation, because SunSpectrum, again, based on SunFiber with the additional nutrients that have anti-inflammatory effects directly at the gut level, but also systemically in terms of how they affect different inflammatory enzymes and various processes connected to interleukin-6 and NF-kappa B and things of that nature. But I think the long and short of it is what I've seen clinically with people, even with my own experience using SunFiber after a really horrible course of doxycycline years ago, it really did make a massive difference. In some cases, it's more profound than the probiotics because someone is in need of that, that fertilizing stage. You planted the bugs, you planted the crops, now they need to grow. And in that case, SunFiber seems to be one of the best direct targets of stimulating a regeneration of that ideal microbiota makeup within the microbiome.
There's a lot of things you can say about fiber. And you touched on it when you said that it's what you eat that makes the difference. So there is one significant butyrate producer in the colon called Faecalibacterium frosnitzii. And if you eat apple pectin, your Faecalibacterium frosnitzii numbers will go up. If you eat orange pectin, the Faecalibacterium frosnitzii count will go down. So they're both pectin. The different sources makes a difference in just that one particular organism. So when you're eating something like SunFiber or TruFiber, it's having an impact on a lot of other organisms and which ones are going to proliferate and which ones are not.